They came not with diplomats but dreadnoughts. The Galactic Concord, in all its infinite arrogance, had reached consensus after 200 years of surveillance. Earth was labeled an emerging Class 9 anomaly. A species with dangerously unstable socio-political systems, an obsession with territorial conflict, and an accelerating trajectory toward militarized spacefaring capabilities. That was the official assessment. Unofficially, humanity scared them. No species that fractured and bloodied could keep advancing so fast, not without some deeper, more volatile force in their biology. A madness wrapped in genius. A drive born not of logic but of defiance. They didn't understand it, and that terrified them more than any fleet they'd ever faced. So they came to end the uncertainty. A coalition of 17 star nations descended upon Earth's solar system in perfect formation. Ships the size of cities. Carriers holding entire orbital platforms. Planet-breaker missiles hung in their silos like sleeping titans. This was no negotiation. This was extermination under the guise of peace. And humanity? Gone. Earth's orbital scanners picked up no military response, no outgoing comms, no desperate signals of surrender. Not even a plea. The planet's satellites were mostly dark. No active defense grid. Cities below were silent. The ice had taken everything. Climate collapse had done what no alien weapon could, forced the species into retreat. Massive glacial expansions had swallowed coastlines and crushed entire nations. The equatorial belts burned, the poles froze, and humanity had vanished. At least that's what the invaders thought. Until a single ship lifted from Antarctica. It wasn't sleek. It wasn't polished. It wasn't beautiful by any known galactic standard. It was blackened and weather-beaten, lined with angular plating and thruster configurations none of the scanning AI could decipher. But what shook the command bridge of the lead cruiser, the Halcyon Accord, was not the vessel itself. It was what it did. Without firing a single shot, the ship disrupted all active Concord targeting systems. Silently. Instantly. Every lock-on, every telemetry beacon, every ion trace handshake blinked to null. 17 fleets blinded in the space of a heartbeat. And then the signal came. Not a broadcast. A resonance. Deep band, subspace compression, threaded with something that tasted like music. Not the mathematical harmonics of the Mephery, nor the psychoacoustic lures of the Silurate chorus. It was old. It was Earth. And it carried a voice. You were warned. 3 words. Nothing more. No translator could parse the inflection. No diplomat dared interpret the tone. But in that moment, every captain aboard the Concorde fleet felt it deep in their organs. A vibration, a pressure behind the eyes, like they had opened a door not meant to be opened. Inside the central intelligence node of the Concorde's flagship, the command AI panicked. Its quantum processing cores, immune to most electromagnetic or viral influence, began spitting gibberish. Models failed to predict the ship's next action. Every combat simulation failed. Every single one. The black ship moved. Not fast. Not in any conventional burst. It simply was at one location then another. Like it phased, like space itself had politely stepped aside for it. Concorde ships tried to respond. Automated defenses flared to life. Plasma cannons, void lances, tachyon streamers, they all fired. And all missed. Not a single impact. Not even an atmospheric ripple to suggest resistance. The ship didn't use shields. It didn't need to. It denied the premise of attack entirely. Then, like a shadow folding inward, it stopped above the Arctic Circle. And Earth woke up. The crust split. Sensors aboard the Concorde fleet screamed as a magnetic anomaly erupted from the planet's north. At first, it resembled a pole shift event, planetary death. But this wasn't natural. It was engineered. A colossal ring, previously mistaken as a subterranean tectonic fault, emerged from beneath the ice. Thousands of meters wide. Structures hidden for millennia lit up like a blooming city beneath glass. Every satellite still operational blinked and failed. Then came the ascent. Not just one ship this time. Dozens. Some as small as interceptors, others larger than anything Earth had ever claimed to build. But none matched the black ship's resonance. It commanded them. It was the core, the ancient heart that had waited in cryo-silence for the right frequency to stir. And the Concorde had given it. The commanders aboard the fleet finally tried diplomacy. A channel was opened, visually, vocally, biologically adaptable. The envoy from the Tural Axis, known for their skilled linguists, addressed the black ship with the usual preamble. Your presence has disrupted a peacekeeping mission. By authority of the Concordan Tribunal, Disengage at once or be forcibly deactivated. Silence. Then, a reply. Not in sound but in memory. One by one, the alien minds aboard the Concorde ships felt memories injected into them. Memories that weren't theirs. Images of a burning Rome. A Mongol horde. The Black Death sweeping through Europe. Hiroshima. Dresden. Rwanda. Sarajevo. Baghdad. The Amazon on fire. Antarctica melting. Then, a child standing in front of an oncoming tank. And the tank stopping. Not because it was damaged. Not because it ran out of fuel. But because the human inside saw that child, and chose not to run her over. It was mercy. It was rage. It was the contradiction of a species capable of infinite war and unspeakable kindness. That was what rose from the ice. Not vengeance. Not hatred. Just the power to choose something else even after being broken. The voice returned. We remember everything. Including who watched us suffer. And with that, the black ship extended something from its hull. A structure. Not a weapon but a prism of pulsating light. It scanned nothing. It aimed at no one. It revealed. Each Concorde ship found its systems hijacked. Not disabled but opened. Their own records, war crimes, colonial conquests, economic enslavement, projected back to them in painful clarity. There were no exaggerations. No embellishments. Just truth held like a mirror to their own faces. One Concorde captain screamed. Another tried to fire on their own fleet. The Tural envoy tore out his own comms node and collapsed in muttering silence. Above them the Earth's ice began to crack. But this time it wasn't destruction. It was awakening. The second generation of sleepers, those modified by Earth's final governments before the climate collapse, rose from beneath the glacial surface. Cryovaults opened. Breaths were taken. Eyes, human eyes, blinked open and met the stars. And they remembered. They remembered everything. The ice cracked louder now, thunderously echoing across the ruined base. The soldiers of the Jernari expedition fell silent, weapons raised, sensors flaring warnings as energy readings surged off the charts. Beneath the surface, the ancient monolith trembled, fracturing the permafrost like glass under pressure. Yara kept her scope trained on the source, even as the snow flurried violently upward in a rising thermal draft. The scanner strapped to her forearm blinked furiously. "Command," she said into her comms, voice tight. "Something's coming up." Not down. This wasn't a burial site. It was a vault. A containment. Then came the low hum, not mechanical, not electrical. It vibrated through bones, a resonant chord that struck instinct more than ears. The soldiers around her flinched. Even the alien battlehounds growled uneasily, backing away from the crevice forming in the ice. They didn't understand it. But Yara did. This wasn't just a warning. It was a challenge. Then the vault exploded upward, shards of ancient glacial ice rocketing into the sky, and something stepped through the rift. A humanoid figure. Tall. Broad. Clad in a blackened suit of heavy armor that shimmered with the dull glow of inactive runes, etched deep into the plating. Its surface bore the scratches of eons, yet not a single dent. Not a single crack. A cloak, tattered but unmistakably military, hung from one pauldron, frayed but not rotted. And then its eyes opened. Two lines of burning blue beneath a helmet shaped like the death masks of Earth's oldest warriors. Yara took a step back involuntarily. "What the hell is that?" hissed the Jernari squad captain. Yara didn't answer. She didn't need to. Moved. Slowly. Not like something reborn, but like something disappointed to be disturbed. The thing turned its head toward the Jernari command platform. The alien officer barked a command. "Fire. Bring it down." A dozen plasma bolts roared from rifles, striking the figure dead on. The light vanished the moment it struck the armor. No reaction. No damage. It kept walking. Then it stopped. And raised a single hand. The air folded. The nearest soldiers collapsed, blood streaming from eyes and ears. Not burned. Not shot. Overwritten. Yara stared stunned. The air trembled with an energy she couldn't quantify. Not magic. Not science. Human will. The being raised its head and finally spoke. Only 2 words. Status, confirmed. The voice was male. Not electronic. And not surprised. As if waking from a nap in the middle of war was just another day. The alien command didn't wait for translations. A second wave of firepower rained down. Missiles, sonic bursts directed EM fields. The human raised its left hand. A shimmering sphere bloomed around him. The weapons disintegrated before impact. Not blocked, denied existence. Then he turned his gaze toward the orbital ships. Even from the ground, Yara could feel the targeting lasers trying to paint him, seeking vulnerabilities. The human's gaze narrowed. One blink. And a signal burst from his armor, a pulse directed straight into orbit. In low Earth orbit, the command ship's system screamed. "Unknown code intrusion," shouted a technician. "Bypassing firewalls, it's rewriting control logic." Then silence. The battleship, the Arvanis Prime, rotated mid-orbit and fired a full spread of its own weapons at its escort fleet. Yara ducked as debris rained down through the atmosphere moments later. Fire bloomed in the sky like inverted meteor showers. "Who is this?" someone whispered, awestruck. 100 different alien military analysts watching the feeds asked the same. But somewhere, on a frequency older than most civilizations, a single file decrypted. And the word was clear. Sentinel Protocol, Genesis. Designation, Sergeant Eric Thorne. Status, Last Vanguard. The being, Eric Thorne, finally turned toward the Jernari survivors still standing. "I gave you a warning," he said, voice like gravel grinding against stone. "You just didn't know it yet." Yara finally stepped forward. "You're human," she said. Thorne tilted his head slightly, as if deciding whether that word still meant what it once did. "I was," he said. "Now I'm what remains when humanity is threatened. I'm the blade we left behind. The one buried in the ice for when words fail." He looked to the skies where more alien ships now began arriving. Reinforcements. Dreadnoughts. Entire fleets. "Looks like the galaxy came knocking again." He clenched his fist. And the air hummed with awakening systems buried across the poles. Ancient structures rose from beneath the crust. Subterranean silos opened. Drones, massive, insectal, man-made, tore their way free of glaciers. Earth had not been asleep. It had been preparing. "For Earth," Thorne said quietly. The machines responded. Then he turned toward the nearest Jernari war leader. "Go," he said. "Run. Tell the stars. Humanity never left. We were just waiting for you to be stupid enough to come back." The sky was fire now. Great plumes of burning atmosphere curled across the upper stratosphere as the Jernari fleet, caught off guard by the orbital betrayal of the Arvanis Prime, scrambled to re-establish control. But it was too late. The Earth's skies were no longer theirs. They'd never truly been. Yara shielded her face from a wave of rising heat as a streaking drone burst from a ruptured ice shelf. The thing looked like a spearhead forged by engineers who hated gods. Angular, dark, humming with weapon systems that had no obvious ports or exhaust. It didn't fly, it punched through gravity. All across Antarctica, similar constructs began clawing upward. Eric Thorne stood at the center of it all, unreadable behind his armored visor, the blue glow from his helm casting him like a phantom carved out of Earth's wrath. Yara stepped closer, hesitating. "What is this? Why were you buried here?" Thorne didn't look at her. "This was the fallback," he said flatly. "Earth's silent contingency. The last promise made by a species who knew they might one day be outnumbered but never outmatched." The ground quaked. Far behind them, a glacier split open, not from melting but from mechanical force. A spire emerged, black metal at least a kilometer high, thrumming with activation pulses. Runes shimmered along its sides, not mystic symbols but encrypted command lines written in old Terran code, layered so deep even modern AIs couldn't decrypt them without authority. Thorne raised a hand toward the monolith. "I am that authority." The spire responded immediately. Conduits hissed. Lightning arced into the sky. A low-frequency tone rippled across the ice sheet and stopped every Jernari soldier cold. Not from fear. From pain. Their translator implants screamed. Their neural dampeners overloaded. The humans hadn't just prepared for war. They'd prepared to break the invaders' very biology. Thorne turned. "You brought an army," he said. But Earth buried its response in silence. Cold. Patient. Now we unearth the answer. The Jernari commander, a six-limbed veteran named Relesk, charged with desperation rather than tactics. "You're just one relic. You can't hold us back." Yara moved to stop him, but she didn't need to. Thorne advanced. It wasn't a sprint. It wasn't a slow walk. It was a calculated momentum, each step like the countdown to a funeral. Relesk swung his plasma glaive, screaming his defiance. Thorne caught it with one hand. And crushed it. The energy discharge backfired into Relesk's face, blinding him as the human drove a gauntlet fist into his chest. The alien's exosuit cracked. Then collapsed inward. Not from brute strength alone, but from gravitic vector pressure built into the gauntlet. The forgotten Terran science. Too dangerous to mass-produce. Ralesk hit the ice, gasping for breath he couldn't find. Thorn didn't finish him. He looked up instead. Toward the sky. Where a massive alien dreadnought, a true capital ship, was descending through the atmosphere. Yara gasped. That's not just Jernari. That's Coalition. They brought the whole damn assembly. Thorn's voice rumbled. Then we respond accordingly. He extended both arms outward. The Sentinel code echoed again, this time through deeper channels. And the ice cracked a final time. What emerged was not a drone. Not a tower. It was Earth's hidden supercarrier, not floating, not flying. Crawling across the terrain on limbs thick as skyscrapers, dragging with it the weight of every weapon system Earth had once banned from existence. It had no name. Only a designation. Goliath, 0. Targeting coordinates confirmed, it said in a voice like thunder filtered through steel. Yara's mouth went dry. It's self-aware? Thorn nodded. And loyal. Like everything else we left behind. The dreadnought began charging weapons. So did Goliath. Except Goliath didn't charge plasma. It reconfigured reality. Its core glowed, once sharply. And then the dreadnought ceased. Not exploded. Not destroyed. It simply wasn't anymore. Gasps rang out from the remaining alien forces. Across the scattered frequencies of panicked command channels, the same phrase repeated. Earth has Type 4 weapons. That shouldn't be possible. This was a dead world. A graveyard. Yara stepped forward. We told you. Earth isn't dead. It was resting. Watching. Burying its guardians in ice, not in graves. The stars above flickered as coalition ships began retreating, even before combat. Cowards? No. They were just smart enough to run when a species like humanity stood up. Thorn turned to Yara. You were the first one brave enough to speak instead of shoot, he said. So you get a choice. Her lips parted. A choice. Stay here. Bear witness. Or come with me. She glanced toward the carrier, toward the drones, toward the horizon. Toward 1,000 more awakenings rumbling from hidden vaults. Then back at him. She nodded. I'm with you. Thorn extended his hand. Then let's remind them what Earth really is. The sky turned black, not with night but with movement. Coalition fleets that had once stood as monuments to galactic supremacy now scattered like frightened insects. Their largest dreadnought, erased by the Goliath's reality spike, was already becoming legend. And still, the ground beneath Antarctica trembled as more long-buried systems awakened. Eric Thorn didn't flinch. Neither did Yara. Around them, Earth's silence was gone, replaced by the groaning of ancient war titans pulling free from centuries of permafrost. Not machines. Not ships. Sentinels. Biomechanical giants forged by a forgotten branch of humanity, thought lost in Earth's third collapse. Yara watched as one of the titans rose, a 12-story behemoth shaped like an armored centaur, blue runes pulsing across its hide. Its face bore no eyes, only a flat metal mask. But when it bowed its head toward Thorn, she understood. It recognizes you, she said. Thorn nodded once. It should. I built it. She blinked. You built that. He didn't smile. I built the first generation of them. Back when Earth decided peace would need to be enforced by monsters. The Coalition fleet opened fire. Desperation. Thorn watched plasma bolts streak through the atmosphere and slam harmlessly into the Goliath's kinetic veil. Drones intercepted the rest, their agile bodies cutting impossible paths through the sky. Dozens fell. Hundreds more replaced them in seconds. No strategy, Thorn muttered. No respect for what we are. He raised one hand, closed it into a fist. Full counterstrike authorization. Earth Protocol 0. Mark humanity's boundaries. Goliath's AI confirmed instantly. Protocol 0 engaged. Non-terrestrial entities will be repelled with finality. The first counterpulse struck a command ship orbiting behind the retreating fleet. The second rewrote the trajectory of a warp relay. The third reached past known subspace and infected the memory of Coalition AI cores. They wouldn't remember Earth the way they had before. Now they would remember pain. Yara's voice was low. You could kill all of them. Yes, Thorn said. But I won't. Not today. She turned to him. Why not? His visor retracted. The man underneath looked far older than his physique, like time had sat heavy on his soul. Because killing sends a message. But sparing them? That carves it into the stars. He stepped onto the lift platform beside her as the Goliath adjusted its stance. Behind them, more titans emerged. Not just in Antarctica. Across the globe, hidden in mountain vaults, beneath ocean trenches, camouflaged in deep forests. They'd all been waiting. Just like him. And now all of Earth was standing up. Yara stared as real-time data poured across the HUD in front of them. Half the coalition fleet had broken formation. The other half hesitated. It wouldn't last. You think they'll try again? She asked. They always do, Thorne replied. But next time, they won't come for Earth. Yara frowned. Then who? He glanced skyward. We're not staying here. For the first time she looked beyond the Earth. Not at its ruins. Not at its scars. But at its intention. This was never about defense, she whispered. Thorne's reply was almost too soft to hear. It's about balance. With that, the lift rose. The command deck sealed behind them. Goliath turned its gaze skyward, locking on an outbound trajectory as multiple titans followed in kind. Earth was no longer alone. It was now an origin point. One humanity would no longer defend from the galaxy, but lead it through. Epilogue, Galactic Council 2 weeks later. 1,000 species gathered in the spiral hall. What had once been the most secure chamber in the galaxy now echoed with fear. Earth is a rogue actor, spat the delegate from Grottel. Their weapons are forbidden. They wiped a command ship from existence with a gesture, hissed another. Not wiped, said a voice from the back. Moved. All heads turned. It was the Zentari Mindseer. Still bearing the scars from his attempted probe into a human soldier's mind 3 years ago. His eyes trembled with ancient terror. I saw the future when I touched them, he said. I saw what humanity is. And, someone asked. He turned, voice shaking. They aren't conquerors. They aren't survivors. They're something we don't have a word for. A silence hung in the chamber. Then a low chime. A broadcast. Everyone turned. It was a message from Earth. No encryption. No code. Just words. We were quiet because we had to be. We slept beneath ice because the galaxy forced us to. But make no mistake, humanity was never broken. We were becoming. The screen flashed once. Then showed Eric Thorne's face. And behind him, the stars. You wanted to conquer Earth. Now watch us rise. And pray, we don't come looking for you. Final note to the audience. If you felt chills reading this, it's because deep down we all know something. Humanity's greatest strength has never been its numbers, its ships, or even its weapons. It's what we become when no one is watching. And when we choose to rise. The galaxy learns humility. If you loved this journey through fear, power, and Earth's hidden legacy, don't forget to subscribe to the Void Narratives for more HFY sagas that twist the stars around humanity's legend. Every week, we dig deeper into the unspoken, the forbidden, and the unstoppable. Until next time, let them fear what's coming. Let them remember who we are. Subscribe and never look away from the void.